Greetings, it's Iain from RTO here. Hope you're all well and had a fab weekend. Been a good weekend, hasn't it, really? England won a European champions, so congratulations to them. Cricket was rubbish. Well, the men's were. They got hammered yesterday. Lots of sport on with the Commonwealth Games, so I had a really sporty weekend. But today we're back to doing music, and a busy week this week because it's the return of the live stream on Thursday after our little break due to me getting something called Bell's palsy when I couldn't talk properly, but unfortunately I can talk again, so we can start up. So today we're going to start off with an album ranking of one of the Genesis members. I mean, we've gone through Genesis, we've done Phil, we've done Peter, we've done Steve, and today we're going to do Mr. Michael Rutherford and Mike and the Mechanics. Mike and the Mechanics formed in 1985 in Dover, Kent, England. The band initially were Mike Rutherford and vocalist Paul Carrick, and then Paul Young ex-Sad Cafe. They were joined by Adrian Lee on keyboards and drummer Peter Van Hook. This band, this lineup stayed together till 1995. Then Pete Lee and Van Hook dropped out. They didn't get replaced. They just got session musicians in. And then sadly, of course, in the year 2000, singer Paul Young sadly passed away. I think they made one more album after that, then they broke up, and then in 2010 they came back with a new band. Mike put together a new band that included Andrew Rochford and Tim Hauer. B.A. Robinson come on board and wrote some of the songs. They've been together for quite a while now then, so we've got 9 albums, all good. Some I prefer better than the others, so let's get a cracking. So, coming in at number 9, we have the 6th album that was released in 2004, Rewired. This was the first album released since the death of co-lead singer Paul Young. And this is basically Mike and Paul, the only real members of the band. There's a lot of session people on this one. And it was the last album that featured Paul Carrick. So we've got Michael Rutherford on electric guitars and bass, Paul Carrick on the lead vocals and keyboards, and then we have a few. I think Peter Van Hook actually plays on this as well. He plays drums on one of the tracks. There's a lot. Owen Paul does some backing vocals. Lots of people on here. So first track, One Left Standing. It's got a weird drum beat in this, but what really makes this really good is the vocal from Paul Carrick. And that's the only outstanding thing about the song, it's Paul Carrick's vocal. If I Were You, this is quite soulful. Nice guitar work here for Mike Rutherford. Not a bad track at all. Perfect Child, solid track. Still in the vein of the old Mike and the Mechanics. Nice vocal from Paul Carrick. Rewired. Now, I don't like this one, I'm afraid. There's not many songs I don't dislike from this band, and this is one of them. It's too dancey for me. I don't know what they were trying to do. It just doesn't sound like Mike and the Mechanics. I Don't Want It All. Pleasant enough song, but it's just lacks something a little bit lackluster, needs a little bit more substance. Let me get my favourite track on this album. It's called How Can I? Great vocal from Paul Carrick. Just classic Mike and the Mechanics sound. Brilliant stuff. Falling. This has got drum machines, lots of silly keyboard bits on it, and it does nothing for me. Somewhere Along the Line. Not a bad song. It's not brilliant, but it's just pleasant. That's the one way of putting it. Then the last track on here is Underscore. Again, one of these dancey sounding tracks. Horrible drum machines. Don't like it. It's not a bad album. It's got some nice tracks on it, but it is a little bit hit and miss, this one for me. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5.5. Okay, then coming in at number 8, we have the 9th and most current album, released in 2019, Out of the Blue. This album actually features some of their reworkings of some of them their album tracks, and also we have 3 new songs on here. So on here we have got Mike Rutherford, Tim Howers on vocals now, Luke Juby on the keyboards, Andrew Roachford on keyboards and vocals, Anthony Drennan on lead guitar, and Gary Wallace on the drums. First track on the album is one of the new tracks called One Way. It's my favourite track on the album. It's just classic sounding Mike and the Mechanics, and a great vocal from Andrew Roachford, who is a terrific singer. I think it was Toy Dolly had or something like that back in the 70s. He's just a great singer. Then we get the second new track, Out of the Blue. Another good song. I love the upbeat tempo of this. Very suited to Andrew Roachford's vocals. Roachford, sorry. Very good song. Then we get What Do You Do, the last of the new tracks. It's a little bit different for the band, but I think it works. And Andrew's vocal is terrific. Then we go into a list of re-recorded songs. I won't go too much into them. So we got The Living Years, Beggar on a Beach of Gold, Get Up, Another Cup of Coffee, All I Need Is a Miracle, Silent Running, Over My Shoulder, Word of Mouth. Then we get some acoustic songs, and now these are really good. Don't You Know What Came Over Me? A great version of this. I just love the piano and guitar and a simple vocal. I love this version of this song. The Best Is Yet to Come. Again, nice arrangement of this song. It's just really good. Then we get The Living Years. It's a great song, great words, written by Mike. You can tell they've come straight from his heart, and this broken down version of it really shows what a good song it is. Then we get an acoustic version of Beggar on a Beach of Gold. Another good version. Another Cup of Coffee. Just sounds good. Over My Shoulder. They're all just nice acoustic versions of the songs. Okay, again, a mixed bag. The new tracks are really good. I do like them, and I love the acoustics. The others I'm not very keen on. There was no need to re-record some of them songs. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 7, we get to the 8th album released in 2017, Let Me Fly. Again, it's Mike Rutherford, Tim Howard, Andrew Roachford, Luke Juby, Anthony Drennan, and Gary Wallace. Lots of people doing backing vocals. So the first track is the title track called Let Me Fly. Like this song, great vocal from Andrew. Really good song, like that one a lot. Are you ready? I don't like the drum machine in this. Take that out and it's a really good song. Put a proper drummer in with a proper beat, but it just sounds too plastic. Wonder. I think Andrew Roachford fits into this band like an old slipper. He's got a great voice, and when you've got Paul Carrick and Paul Young, he sounds great. The Best Is Yet to Come. I love the acoustic version, and I like this version as well. This is really quirky, very good track. Save the World, strong lyrics, great song. Don't You Know What Came Over Me? I love this upbeat track, and it's what you expect from the Mike and the Mechanics. One of their just, that sound, you know it's Mike and the Mechanics. High Life. Not a particularly favourite of mine. I don't like the arrangement on it. and the drum machine sounds terrible. The Letter is the next track. My favourite track on here. I love the guitar work. This harks back to the classic days. It's got that lovely early sound of the band. Really good track. Not Out of Love, not too bad, solid enough. Love Left Over, a bit of a filler on here, not one of the better tracks on the album. I'll Be There For You, not a great fan of this one either, it's a little bit wishy-washy. Save My Soul starts well and then just fizzles out like a candle with its last piece of wax. It's not a bad album. The first 5 or 6 songs on here are pretty good, and then it sort of fizzles away. By the time I get to track 10, I'm getting bored now. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6.5. Okay. Coming in at number 6. It's the 7th album, released in 2011, The Road. Now this is the first album to have the entire new lineup. So this is the first album that it was Mike Rutherford, Tim Howard, Andrew Rochford, Luke Juby, Anthony Drennan and Gary Wallace. First track on here is the title track, The Road. Love this track. Love the beat to it. The backing vocals on here are pretty good. Excellent track. Reach Out, Touch the Sun. I love this track. Great vocal from Andrew. It's got a bit of a Tears for Fears feel to this song. Probably why I like it. Tried to Save Me. It's solid. It's not brilliant. It's not bad though. It just sits there quite nicely. Background Noise. Nice gentle feel to it. One of my favourites on here, and it just shows that Rochford has got a great voice. I don't do love. Really good track. My favourite. I love the quirkiness of this, the beat, uplifting, great vocal. Heaven Doesn't Care. Now this is Tim Howard first singing on the album. Really good. He's got a nice voice as well. Nice beat to this, and it's just a traditional Mike and the Mechanics track. It Only Hurts for a While. Okay, nice melody to it. Very good. Walking on Water. Don't like the percussion on there. It sounds plastic. Just doesn't fit. Hunt You Down. I love this. It's got that 60s feel to it. The keyboards sound great. Really good. Oh No, another Tim Howard vocal. Another good track with a nice catchy tune. I do like that. Then we get You Can't Be the Rock, which is the last track. Solid track. Great vocal from Andrew. Certainly fitted into this band very well. It's got a pretty good solo for Mr. Rutherford on it. Okay, I think this was a brave move from Mike to come out with a completely new band. But choosing Rochford, how you pronounce it, is always going to be good. I was a little bit apprehensive when it came out, but I've gradually come to like this album, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 5, we go to the 5th album released in 1999. It's called Mike and the Mechanics, or M6. I think because they confused it with the first album, that's why they added the M6 on it. And sadly, this was the last album that featured Paul Young. So on here we have got Mike Rutherford, Paul Carrick, Paul Young, and Gary Wallace on the drums. First track is called Whenever I Stop. I love this song, always have. It's just a great vocal from Paul Carrick. Excellent track. Now That You're Gone. It's got a horrible drum beat to it, but what makes this track again is Paul Carrick's vocal delivery. Really, really good track. Ordinary Girl, this is a Paul Young song. It's very 60s. It's my favourite song on the album, and it's probably one of my favourite songs Paul Young sang on. Absolutely brilliant track. All the Light I Need, written by B.A. Robinson, all co-wrote. Another good song. The acoustic guitar on this is terrific, and the piano really works well on that as well. Then My Little Island, great song. Love Paul Young's singing on this. He was such a great asset to this band. Really good guitar from Mike as well. Open Up, love this song. It's a little bit different sort of arrangement, but Paul's vocal is great on this. It's Paul Carrick, of course. There's two Pauls, isn't there? Whenever I Get Over You, nice upbeat song. Solid stuff. If Only, one of the classics, slow songs from this band. Really good track. Asking for the Last Time, it's one of those tracks that I'm not actually keen on. There we go, we're getting on them all, can we? Always Listen to Your Heart. I like this song, but I don't like the percussion. It's very tacky. Did You See Me Coming? Great song. Nice pace. I love the acoustic guitar on this. A Look Across Dreamland. I love this song. It's quite ironic that the last song on the album is sung by Paul Young. So to me, this is the last of the really great Mike and the Mechanics albums. I'm not saying the others are bad, but I think this is the last one of them, of the great lineup. And I'll give this one an RTO ranking of 7.3. Okay, then coming in at number 4, go to the third album from 1991, The Word of Mouth. On here we have got Mike Rutherford on guitars, Paul Carrick, Paul Young, Adrian Lee, this was his last official album, and Peter Van Hook. Opens up with Get Up. Love this. I love that chunky guitar on it. Some of the guitar work on is very Genesis, of course, but I just love it. Great track. Then we get my favourite, Word of Mouth. One of Paul Young's best vocals with the band. Love this. It's one of my favourite tracks. It's so catchy. And what I like about it, it's not recorded live. It's done in the studio, but they've added all the effects to sound like it's being recorded live. Absolutely terrific track. Then we get A Time and the Place. I've never liked this. It's just a dreary ballad. It's the sort of thing you get like In Too Deep, Hold On to My Heart. It's all in the same vein. It's dreary. It doesn't go anywhere. Then we get a track called Yesterday, Today, Tomorrow. Great track. Love that rocky guitar beat and another sterling vocal from Paul Young. The Way You Look at Me. A little bit wishy-washy. Drumming doesn't do anything for me either. Then we get Everybody Gets a Second Chance. I like this song. It's quirky. It reminds me actually of a Phil Collins song. It's got that feel to it, and you expect Phil Collins to be singing, but you get Paul Carrick, which is okay because they're both great singers. But it's that sort of vein. I think it's a really good track. Stop Baby. It's a good track, but sometimes the percussion and drums, it's a little bit mixed. But again, it sounds a bit Phil Collins solo stuff. Crime of Passion. Love the bass line on this. Absolutely brilliant. Just a great bass line from Mike Rutherford. I think he's a better bass player than a guitar player, actually. It's a good track. Let's pretend it didn't happen. Love the keyboards in this. Really adds extra texture to this song. And then the last track before the next Heartache Falls reminds me again of Phil Collins's Take Me Home. Solid album. Got a couple of dodgier tracks on, but on the whole I love this album. I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay then, coming in at number 3, go to the debut album, Mike and the Mechanics, from 1985. So it's Mike Rutherford, Paul Carrick, Paul Young, Adrian Lee and Peter Van Hook. Silent Running on Dangerous Ground. My favourite track by the band ever. And lovely keyboards from Adrian Lee on this. This is just a brilliant track. I just love this track. Then we get All I Need Is a Miracle. It's one of them typical mid-80s pop songs. Catchy tune. But you just can't not like that one. It's really good. Enjoy that one. Then we get Part of Iain. A solid track. Now this could have appeared on a Phil Collins solo album or one of the later Genesis tracks. But it's a really good track. And that drum machine with that little pingy noise, which you do get a lot on Phil Collins solo stuff, is great. Really good. Hanging by a Thread. 80s guitar on it's good. But the best thing about it is them catchy hook keyboards that Adrian Lee does. Really good track. I Get the Feeling. Probably the weakest track on the album, and I've never ever been keen on that one. Take the Reins, very 80s start, but it's got some good guitar work in it. It's not a bad track. You're the One. It's a good song. It reminds me of Barclay James Harvest, actually. Which I like. That's a band that I do like. Okay, the next track is called A Call to Arms. Now, the co-writers are on this. Mike Rutherford, Tony Banks and Phil Collins. And B.A. Robinson. I don't know if this track was a song that was a reject from the Genesis album. But it's a good song, and you can tell that Tony Banks was involved in this, even though he didn't play on it the way it's the sound. It's very Genesis, and I do like this track. Then Taken In, another good track. The keyboards from Adrian are brilliant on this. And then you get some nice sax work from a chap called John Earl. Another really good track album. Good debut, some awesome strong tracks on. And I think it's got that 80s feel to it, but I still think it's a good album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.9. Okay, coming in at number 2. It's the 4th album, released in 1995. Beggar on a Beach of Gold, which was the 4th album. Although Adrian Lee had left the band, he performs on this album as a session musician, and this was the last album that officially that Peter Van Hook drummed on it. So it's Mike Rutherford, Paul Carrick, Paul Young and Peter Van Hook, with Adrian Lee on keyboards. B.A. Robinson performs on this on the keyboards, and Paul Wiggins does on keyboards as well. Opens up with a Beggar on the Beach of Gold, just a classic track from this band. I love this track, always have. I just love Paul Carrick's vocals. Paul Young, sings this one. It's a great track, really good track. Then we go into another classic track, Another Cup of Coffee. This is Paul Carrick. It's just one of the brilliant out tracks on this album. The bass and the acoustic guitar are brilliant on this. Classic track. Then we get a cover version of You Really Gotta Hold On Me, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. Good cover, great vocal from Paul Young. Excellent track. Mea Culpa. Love the guitar from Mr. Rutherford on this. Got a catchy beat, a really good vocal from Paul Young on this one. Terrific song. And then we get my favourite track on here, and I think it's one of everyone's favourite tracks, Over My Shoulder. Just love the guitar work on this. Great vocal from Paul Carrick. Absolute belter of a track. Someone Always Hates Someone. One of my favourite Paul Young songs again. That little keyboards and the riff you get at the start is brilliant. The Ghost of Sex and You. Solid track. Just love the vocals from Paul Carrick on this one. It is a truly great track. Then we get... Oh dear, I've just hit the wrong button. Bear with me a minute. There we go. Then we get Weber Lies. Another great performance by Paul Carrick. Great song. Plain and Simple. These songs just keep coming. Another great vocal. Something to Believe In. Some really nice guitar work on. It's Court of Eerie and mellow. Really good track. A House of Many Rooms is the next one. It's got that typical Mike Rutherford guitar sound, that little drum machine that actually works on the track. Brilliant stuff. And then we get a cover of a Stevie Wonder song called I Believe When I Fall in Love It Will Be Forever. Classic Stevie Wonder number. Paul Carrick does a great job on the vocals. I mean, what a song and what a version. Going Home. Another great track. I just love the nice gentle and it's nice and gentle with some very delicate guitars touches, and what a way to end the album. Solid album. Not a bad track on this one. I love playing this. It's got some nice gentle tracks on it. It's got some upbeat tracks, and the mixture is really good of the different songs. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, my number one. Always been my number one. It's the second album, released in 1988, and it's called Living Years, of course. They did do a remix and did some live stuff again, but this is the original album. So we've got Mike Rutherford, Paul Carrick, Paul Young, Adrian Lee, and Peter Van Hook. First track, Nobody's Perfect. I love that start, that dun, 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 and I love the chorus. Great vocal. Paul Young leads the vocals on this. Terrific song. A little bit different for me, yeah, but I just love there's something about that song. Then we get, of course, the classic Living Years. Again, one of my favourite songs. Adrian Lee's keyboards on this are terrific. And I like that nice chunky guitar sound that you get from Mike Rutherford on this. The bass line Mike Rutherford did as well. Really strong track. Seeing is Believing. Very mid-80s. But of course it's got a great guitar riff from Mike. Absolutely stonking riff. Nobody Knows. Great song. Adrian Lee's keyboards on this really add to this track. You got some lovely drumming from Peter Van Hook. Super, super track. Poor Boy Down. I think this band really knew how to take that 80s production and do it good. It's a catchy pop song from the 80s, done properly, and done with some conviction and thought went into it. Great track. Then we get my favourite track on this album, Blame. It's one of my favourite vocals from Paul Young. There's just something about this track. It's catchy. It's a Beautifully sung. Really, really good track. Then we get Don't. Normally I would go for the drum machine. It's a little bit different. The backing sort of weird, but it's very catchy and you cannot like this. You really want to dislike it, but you can't. Then we get Black and Blue, catchy tune. This is got some great guitar work on this one again. Love that track. Beautiful Day. I think this is some of Mike Rutherford's best guitar work he'd done with Mike and the Mechanics. Bass line's terrific. Brilliant track. Why Me? A good way to end the album. It's got lots of very Genesis in it, but it's still a solid track. I think this is just a great album. In 1988, again, there was a lot of bad rock albums made, but this one, the production is brilliant. They knew how to use it. I mean, B.A. Robinson he's sort of a good producer as well, and they really used the ability to make a good rock pop album for the 80s. The production is good. They used it properly. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay then, that's Mike and the Mechanics. We are going to look at Tony Banks at some stage, but again, he's one of these that's been on this, that and everything else, so it'll take a little while to put that one together, but it will come at some stage. I'll be back with a classic album, and we have got a classic this week. We'll be looking at George Harrison and his brilliant album All Things Must Pass. Looking forward to that one. It is truly a great album that every person that likes Beatles, rock, or anything like that should own. So I will see you for later for that one. Bye for now.